You are lying in bed at 2 in the morning, staring at the ceiling while your mind replays a conversation from years ago. You analyze your tone, the look on the other person's face, and all the ways you could have said it better. It feels like important work, like you are investigating something deeply meaningful. But despite all that effort, you aren't actually solving anything. You're just exhausting your nervous system before the sun even rises. Maybe you've noticed that this isn't just a late-night habit. It's a pattern that shows up in everyday decisions. You spend 40 minutes researching the perfect pair of running shoes instead of putting on your old ones and going for a run. You rewrite a short email several times because you're afraid of sounding unprofessional to someone you don't even like. You tell yourself you're being careful or thorough. You might even call yourself a deep thinker. But there is a quiet exhaustion that comes from living entirely inside your own head while the real world keeps moving. Many people will tell you that the solution is simple. Just stop caring what people think. They believe that if you become more confident or more social, the noise in your mind will disappear. But that isn't the real reason your mind refuses to slow down. Overthinking is often a defense mechanism designed to protect you from the pain of making a visible mistake. As long as you keep analyzing a problem, you don't have to face the risk of actually trying to solve it. Thinking feels like progress, but it often becomes a form of productive procrastination. Imagine your mind is a powerful engine stuck in neutral. It revs loudly and burns fuel, but the car never moves forward. Your brain treats a wrong decision like a threat to your identity, so it keeps you trapped in endless mental simulations, trying to predict every possible outcome to avoid discomfort. But here's the strange part many overthinkers realize too late. By trying to avoid the small pain of a wrong choice, you end up choosing the much larger pain of a stagnant life. Think about the last time you had a great idea. At first you felt excited, then you started listing every possible reason it might fail. You researched, watched videos, and imagined every scenario. Eventually the excitement disappeared, and you never started. This is analysis paralysis. You are not lazy. You are not broken. You are simply overinvested in thinking and underinvested in action. You have been living in a system that rewards knowing instead of doing. But the real world only gives feedback to those who move. Over time, this creates a gap between the person you imagine yourself to be and the person you actually are in daily life. In your mind, you are ambitious and capable, but in reality, you hesitate and wait. That gap is where anxiety grows. There is another reason overthinking feels addictive. Your brain gives you a small hit of dopamine when you mentally solve a problem, even if nothing changes in the real world. When you spend hours planning the perfect routine or strategy, your brain feels like progress has already been made. The plan itself creates a sense of accomplishment. By the time it's time to act, the reward has already been spent, so the real work feels boring. That is why you can feel exhausted at the end of a day where nothing was actually completed. You ran a marathon in your mind. Let me ask you something uncomfortable. How many versions of yourself have disappeared while you waited for certainty? Every time you delay action until everything feels clear, another possible future quietly fades away. The people you admire are not necessarily smarter than you. In many cases, they simply act sooner. They are willing to be messy, wrong, and imperfect while they learn. You, on the other hand, might be so afraid of looking foolish that you remain invisible, and that safety slowly turns into a cage. Many people get stuck here because they believe the solution is to think harder about how to stop thinking. But the same tool that created the problem cannot solve it. You cannot debate your mind until it finally grants permission to live. Your thoughts are not commands. They are suggestions from a cautious internal advisor. You can hear the suggestion, acknowledge the fear, and still move your hands to do the work. Your brain is trying to protect you with instincts that are thousands of years old. In the past, a wrong decision could mean physical danger. Today, it usually means a small mistake or moment of embarrassment. But your mind still reacts as if the risk is life-threatening. So the solution is not to eliminate fear. The solution is to change your relationship with mistakes. Instead of seeing failure as proof of your worth, see it as the cost of living a meaningful life. One practical way to break the cycle is to dramatically lower the barrier to starting. If you want to work on a project, don't try to build everything in your head. Just spend 5 minutes on one small piece. If you want to go to the gym, don't focus on the perfect workout. Focus on walking through the door. This strategy is often called shrinking the change. When the action is small enough, your inner critic doesn't activate. You quietly slip past your own mental defenses. Small actions create momentum, and momentum creates evidence. Every time you do what you promised yourself you would do, you strengthen self-trust. Confidence does not come from thinking about success. It comes from repeatedly proving to yourself that you act. That is also the real reason late-night anxiety grows so loud. Anxiety is often the energy of all the actions you avoided during the day. But the moment you begin moving, that energy transforms into progress. You start realizing that the monsters in your head were never as powerful as they seemed. It's time to stop being the architect of a house you never planned to build. You have spent enough time in the blueprint phase, searching for flaws that may never exist. Your worth is not measured by perfect plans or complicated thoughts. It is measured by your willingness to participate in your own life. That means accepting that progress will often look messy and imperfect. The image of the deep thinker has to give way to the reality of someone who takes small, consistent actions. Imagine looking back a year from now and seeing a trail of completed steps instead of unfinished ideas. Imagine the quiet in your mind when you no longer need to prove anything to yourself because the work has already been done. That kind of silence is not found in a meditation app or an expensive retreat. It is earned through consistent action. Your life is not a competition with strangers on a screen. It is a collaboration between you and your future self. The world around you is designed to overstimulate your mind and keep you trapped in endless thinking. It is not your fault that your brain seeks safety in hypothetical scenarios, but it is now your responsibility to respond differently. You are capable of deep thought, but that depth should anchor you, not drown you. You may have been waiting for permission to be imperfect. That permission has to come from you. Forgive yourself for the time you believe you wasted inside your own thoughts. That time is not wasted if it leads you to this realization. You are not a spectator in your own life. You are the one holding the pen. So take one small step today. Pick the task you have been analyzing for weeks and work on it for 10 minutes. Stop searching for the right words in your head. Start searching for the right actions with your hands. This is where the cycle of overthinking begins to break. You already have everything you need to begin. The world does not need your perfect thoughts. It needs your presence. Start before you feel ready, and trust that clarity will meet you along the way. If these words helped you feel that clarity, give me a like. That way I know we're on the same wavelength. Subscribe if you're ready to gradually move out of the maze of thoughts and into real action. We'll do it together. And tell us in the comments, what one small step will you take right now without delay? Let's turn this inner monologue into your first action.